You're in all of His grace. You're in all of His goodness. You're in all of His mercy.
It started as an ordinary Sunday, with the congregation of Fellowship Church settling into their seats, hearts open to worship, and minds ready to receive the message. Pastor Charles Jenkins had been preparing for weeks, pouring his heart into the sermon he would deliver that morning, and as he stepped up to the pulpit, there was a sense of anticipation that filled the sanctuary. His presence was commanding, yet comforting, and every word he spoke resonated deeply with those who had come seeking guidance, hope, or simply the warmth of a familiar voice. The music swelled, the choir lifted their voices, and the atmosphere felt alive with faith and devotion. Members of the congregation leaned forward, their eyes fixed on him, hanging on to every phrase. What no one could anticipate was how quickly the tone of the morning would change, how an atmosphere filled with joy and spiritual uplift would pivot to one marked by concern, fear, and urgency. The moment everything changed. It began subtly at first. Pastor Jenkins' voice, usually so steady and passionate, wavered for a moment. He gripped the pulpit a little tighter, and some in the front rows assumed it was simply the emotion of the sermon carrying him. But then, within seconds, his balance faltered. The congregation watched in disbelief as their vibrant leader leaned forward, and then, gently but unmistakably, he collapsed. Shock rippled through the room, mingled with cries of alarm, gasps, and hurried footsteps as people rushed to help. Some reached for him instinctively, while others fell to their knees, voices lifted in urgent prayer. The choir, who had been singing only moments before, froze mid-song, some covering their faces, others clasping hands in disbelief. What had been a morning of praise and reflection transformed into a moment of vulnerability, fear, and an overwhelming need for collective support. Immediate response. Trained members of the church were the first to respond, quickly checking for any signs of injury while ushering others to give space. Their calm, purposeful actions contrasted with the panic that had begun to spread among those standing nearby. Phone calls were made, hands pressed together in prayer, and the congregation rallied as one, determined to ensure their pastor received care immediately. Within minutes, paramedics arrived, navigating through the crowd with precision, bringing a stretcher and medical equipment. What had begun as a normal Sunday service had transformed into a scene of urgency and deep concern. Outside, the flashing lights of ambulances illuminated the streets, reflecting on the tear-streaked faces of church members who had followed behind, whispering prayers and holding one another for comfort. The transition from worship to crisis was instantaneous, leaving everyone grappling with emotions too big to contain. Inside the hospital. At the hospital, the intensity of the day continued. Doctors worked quickly to stabilize Pastor Jenkins, closely monitoring every vital sign and ensuring he received the care necessary. The family remained by his side, their presence a mix of reassurance and unspoken anxiety. His wife, dignified yet visibly shaken, encouraged those around her to keep faith and prayer at the center of their hearts, while quietly holding on to hope for the man she had built her life with. Church leaders arrived in waves, some taking turns visiting the ICU, others speaking to the congregation by phone or video to provide updates. Every small improvement, slight movement, a flicker of recognition, or a whisper of words brought immense relief, but also highlighted the fragility of the moment. The reality was clear. Recovery would be gradual and required patience, faith, and an understanding of human limits. The reality of human limits. As details emerged, it was revealed that Pastor Jenkins had been working tirelessly in the weeks leading up to the incident. Travel, preaching, meetings, and ministry responsibilities had accumulated, leaving little time for rest or personal care. His dedication was evident to all who knew him, yet it also highlighted a common challenge: the tendency of leaders to prioritize service above self-care. Congregants reflected on the reality that even the strongest leaders have limits, and that faith does not make one immune to the demands of life, health, and emotional well-being. This reflection brought both concern and insight, as the community realized the importance of nurturing those who guide them, not just in spiritual matters, but also in the practical aspects of life. Moments of hope. Throughout the ICU stay, small moments of progress offered hope. A movement of a hand, a blink of recognition, or a whispered phrase reassured family, friends, and medical staff alike. Pastor Jenkins, even in his weakened state, communicated love and connection, reminding everyone around him of the deep bonds that tie a congregation to its shepherd. These moments, fragile yet profound, became a testament to resilience, faith, and the human spirit's ability to endure. They also underscored the importance of presence and support, as those around him witnessed the power of community and prayer in sustaining hope during challenging times. Reflection and conversation. Pastor Jenkins's collapse sparked a larger conversation beyond the walls of Fellowship Church. Faith leaders, members of the gospel community, and everyday congregants began discussing the balance between service and well-being. Many acknowledged the need to re-evaluate expectations placed on spiritual leaders and to create structures that allow for rest, support, and shared responsibility. Conversations emphasized that ministry is not sustained by one individual alone, but by a community working together in love, accountability, and mutual care. These discussions were sometimes difficult, as they challenged long-held assumptions about leadership and spiritual strength, but they were necessary for growth, understanding, and the long-term health of both leaders and the communities they serve. A community united. Despite the uncertainty and emotional intensity, the response of the congregation and wider community was remarkable. Prayer chains formed, worship services dedicated to healing and hope were organized, and messages of encouragement flowed from all directions. Individuals, families, and groups stood together, holding candles, singing softly, and offering prayers of support and gratitude. Social media became a virtual space of shared hope, as people across the country expressed solidarity, reflected on faith, and acknowledged the humanity of those who dedicate their lives to ministry. The love and care surrounding Pastor Jenkins was a vivid reminder of the power of community and the ways in which compassion can transform moments of crisis into opportunities for connection, empathy, and collective resilience. Lessons and takeaways. The experience offered lessons for both the church and broader society. First, it highlighted the importance of recognizing and respecting human limits, even in those we see as pillars of strength. Second, it underscored the value of community, shared responsibility, and mutual care in sustaining spiritual life and leadership. Third, it encouraged conversations about mental, emotional, and physical health, emphasizing that vulnerability does not diminish faith or commitment. Pastor Jenkins's moment of crisis became a symbol of the need for balance, rest, and compassion, prompting reflection not only on individual well-being, but also on how institutions, congregations, and communities can better support those who serve tirelessly in leadership roles. A future of hope. As Pastor Jenkins continued to recover, the focus shifted from fear to hope. Every small sign of progress reinforced the message that care, love, and patience are essential for healing. The congregation, inspired by the collective experience, became more aware of the importance of community support, shared responsibility, and empathy. Discussions about succession, delegation, and support systems led to concrete changes in church operations, ensuring that the ministry could continue flourishing without placing undue strain on any single individual. In this way, a moment of crisis became a catalyst for growth, reflection, and a deeper sense of collective responsibility, ultimately strengthening both the church and its members. A story that resonates. The story of Pastor Charles Jenkins is no longer solely about a moment of collapse in the pulpit. It has evolved into a testament to resilience, faith, and the power of community. It speaks to the challenges faced by leaders, the importance of recognizing human limits, and the transformative impact of collective care and prayer. It encourages ongoing conversations about well-being, responsibility, and support, not only within the church, but in all areas of life where individuals dedicate themselves to service. The narrative leaves a lasting impression, illustrating how moments of vulnerability can open the door to reflection, connection, and growth, creating a legacy that extends far beyond a single event. Enduring impact. Even as Pastor Jenkins continues his journey of recovery, the lessons from that morning remain vivid. The congregation has been reminded that faith, love, and community are inseparable, that leaders are human, and that shared responsibility ensures sustainability in ministry. The story continues to inspire dialogue, reflection, and compassion across the gospel community and beyond, serving as a reminder that moments of crisis can reveal not only the fragility of life, but also the extraordinary strength of people coming together in unity, care, and unwavering hope. The legacy of that Sunday is now about more than one person. It is about a community learning to support each other, honoring both human limitations and the enduring power of faith.